Let's talk about David. Shall we talk about David, ladies and gentlemen? We need to talk about David Lammy. This is going to be interesting. So our first thing tonight, should we get our panel up? So we need 2 of these sorts of chairs over here, and we need 2 empty chairs on the other side too. And if you feel you can defend David Lammy, we'll come to you afterwards. Shall we invite Tops to the table? But please welcome Tops first of all. Have a seat. I'm going to say something first of all. I know you're not expecting me to say anything, but I'm going to say something that sometimes, I must say something, but this is not on our script in the slightest bit. We'll come back to this, Tops. Do you mind if I speak, or should I? Those of us people who show up in this sort of room, and some people who actually carry what we call a cross or the burden, or have a very, very active sense of right and wrong, that sometimes in countries, anywhere in the world or so, going all the way back to millennia, whichever time you can think of any parable you can think of. Don't worry, you'll tell your side piece to call back later on or so. But the key thing here that I really need you to understand is that it's going to get you into trouble sometimes. And people are, not you personally, and I'm not talking about your side piece either, but no, I'm talking about having this thing, us human beings, called compassion, and trying to make sure we're driven by a sense of morality, and there's a sense of right and there's a sense of wrong, that sometimes that's going to get us into a lot of trouble, particularly with organizations such as the Daily Mail. And it's a very unique experience, actually, to wake up one morning and find your face in the Daily Mail, particularly for something you haven't done, let alone something you have done. Tops over the last couple of days has been the subject to a very, very significant smear campaign in the Daily Mail. And it's gone through not just the Daily Mail, but also through different papers. I must say, Tops is somebody who I respect and hold in the highest of esteem possible. I love Tops. I think she's somebody who comes here regularly, but before I even knew her, I knew what she was about. And she was somebody who always spoke from a position of compassion for the person who was downtrodden, the person who was out there, who was pretty much being beaten up by society, or the person who was being genocided or killed. And that is why she found herself and where she found herself right now. And I just want you to know, Tops, and I think I speak on all of us, so we are going to stand by you. You don't walk alone by any means whatsoever. We love you. We thank you for your work. We'll get through this, okay? We'll get through this. All right. So this is how time burns through at Uppity. Before you know it, so Zach will have about 5 minutes to speak, and then we'll have to get out of here, so they'll get into a lot of trouble. Shall I invite our Busayo twins, Uppity legend, Busayo twins, please come to the floor, everybody. So Busayo, should we have you? Welcome, Busayo. Thank you very much. But I think Busayo is somebody who needs no introduction to this audience. She's a day one Uppity legend. She's somebody who I would say is one of those people similar to Tops, who's one of those young people who are, again, driven by a sense of morality, a sense of right and wrong, and compassion, and really want to make the world a better place. And we love nothing more than to hear her voice and to hear what she has to bring to the table. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we need to talk about David Lammy, the Deputy Prime Minister, one of the most powerful people in the country. Allegedly, right? I'm not going to bias the actual audience, but there's been a movement sprung up in Tottenham where David Lammy is the Member of Parliament, and the movement is called the Lammy Out movement. And I've known for about the last 10 plus years there's been palatable frustration with David Lammy, but now it's reached boiling point, to a point where there's literally a full-blown movement to get him out of Parliament. And part of me wonders, is this fair? Is this appropriate? Is this just? I am an unbiased entity in this situation over here. And I thought to myself, why don't we speak a little bit? We normally do a full-blown trial of David Lammy. But I must say, finding somebody to defend him was one of the most difficult things I've ever done in my life. That to just find somebody who would say, I will stand up and be that person. So tonight, we have empty-chaired David Lammy's defense, meaning that anybody can step up and give a 3-minute speech to speak on David Lammy's behalf. If you're mushmouth, we'll take a microphone from you. But I want to say this. If you do so successfully, we'll let our 2 speakers speak first, then we'll come back to whoever wishes to volunteer to do so. But the key thing about it is this, is that if you do actually put on a convincing defense of David Lammy, you are going to win a book called Defending the Undefendable, which is a book which offers practical defenses for pimps, slum landlords, drug dealers, libelers, abusers of human rights. It offers a stock defenses for absolutely each and every one of them. So your speech on David Lammy will fit right into that book. But for now, we're going to hear speeches from our prosecution team. Busayo, and of course Tops, so Johnny Cochran and oh my God, who's the Kardashian? What's his name? Robert Kardashian. Yeah, Johnny Cochran and Robert Kardashian. Also, the dream team taking down the black man at this time, as opposed to actually upholding him. And we're going to hear from you guys. So, should we leave you guys we'll leave you both with a 3 to 4 minute speech each, and I'll pop back up in a couple of moments, and we'll speak from there. Good luck.
Hi everyone. I'll try and get through this. Members of the community, brothers, sisters, friends, and foes, look at those empty chairs. Go on. In a courtroom, an empty desk is a technicality, but in this room, it's an indictment. Uppity asks for anyone, to stand in defense of David Lammy. They searched for a single voice willing to bridge the gap between his record and our reality. And what did they find? Silence. This empty chair isn't a mistake. It's not a failing of Nels. It's the most honest representation David Lammy has ever had. It mirrors the very silence many in our community feel when they look for an advocate for the issues that matter most to us, to the people of Tottenham. Lammy speaks of justice, yet we see the compromise. Lammy speaks of British values, while our community continues to bear the brunt of systemic failures he is now in a position to fix, but chooses at best to manage and at worst to ignore. We are told he is a success story. We are told he is one of us, who made it into the inner sanctum of power. But we will show, we the prosecution, that there is a difference between occupying a seat and using a voice. See, what defines a great prosecution, a great prosecutor, is a commitment to seeking justice. However much I would like to stand here and cuss him out, we're not here for that. And we're also not here to just merely win an argument. We're here on behalf of people standing shoulder to shoulder in support of ethical integrity. So we will anticipate the defense's strategy, if they were here, and their arguments. We will expose their weaknesses. If I were the defense, what would I say about Lammy? Well, the tragedy of the black community's relationship with David Lammy isn't that he left his community behind. It's that once he walks through the doors of power, he locks them behind him. So today, we aren't just putting a man on trial, we are putting the concept of representation on trial. If a man is supposedly of the people, but has no one from the people willing to stand up and defend him today, then we have to ask, who is he actually representing? The defense is absent, but the community is present. You are present. And my friend, my sister, Busayo, will let the truth be told.
Thank you, Topper. When it comes to David Lammy, one must judge him on what he's become and not what he could have been. Not what he once was or you remember him to be. There's a special place in his memoirs or a BBC Black History Month documentary where Britain can force onto us the image of David Lammy as the UK's most radical civil rights lawyer and most decorated statesman that we've produced. But this is a trial, not a vanity project. And as my esteemed friend has already said, we will proceed in anticipation of what Lammy's defense would have put forward. And as excited as I am to prosecute Lammy, it is unfortunate that his split loyalty has forced us to withdraw support for a black man in order to protect the political imagination of black children. So let me set the stage. Tottenham is a district once closely associated with community resistance against police brutality and the spoils of neoliberalism. From the 80s Broadwater Farm riots to the fatal, unlawful killing of Mark Duggan that set the whole country ablaze 15 years ago. Tottenham is one of the country's most significant districts for black, British and working class history. It's important that we remember it's not just any borough that Lammy represents. It's one with cultural and political significance. Now, because of Lammy, it's been reduced to a safe seat for a career politician who struggles to give simple answers to simple questions. So perhaps consider, in this trial, in part, an updated assessment of whether Lammy's career honours the radical traditions of resistance and legacy of those within Tottenham whose lives have been irreversibly shaped, harmed, and taken by the very racism Lammy promised Bernie Grant to confront and not manage. I implore you, my North London brothers and sisters, if you are here, that's right, to take offence to the person occupying your seat in Parliament. Be offended by the person who mocks your political literacy. In a recent interview, David Lammy said, I can 100% tell you, knowing my seat as I do, that there is no prospect of the Greens taking my constituency. Greens. Can he take your constituency? Can you take it? Great. And to be fair, he wasn't talking about me, but I'm offended on your behalf. So let's look at the first line of defense. He used to be for us. Let's not deny that. Now, outside of Tottenham, the rest of you repeat after me. Not any black person.
Not any black person.
So let's cut straight to the point. If he was here, Lammy would list all his accomplishments, tell us about the report he wrote and how much he's done for us, right? The Lammy Review, and being a strong critic of both the Grenfell and Windrush scandals. He would say he's proven himself and perhaps a new generation is simply a product of a school curriculum that omits black British history. Some of you may even whisper, oh, he has a point, I was there, you don't know the heydays. Yes, Lammy has challenged media narratives around absent black fathers. And he's also emboldened the media by saying Britain isn't a racist country. Yes, he has shed light on racial bias within the prison system, and he's also advocating for the removal of juries that will exacerbate racism in the courts. And for those of you who are nostalgic amongst us, yes, he did date June Sarpong. And you can finish that sentence for yourself. Ultimately, I ask, do we judge Lammy by the evidence of good deeds or the absence of ideological consistencies? It's an ideological contradiction as a black man to serve as Foreign Secretary for the British project whilst claiming to understand the pervasiveness of structural racism, which is global in nature. Now, we can disagree on his motives and the reasons for his change of tone, but we must also acknowledge that race politics has benefited his platform within the establishment. Knowing what he knows about the fate of reviews, inquiries and reports in this country, and how they barely hold systems of oppression accountable, is it really too sinister for us to explore whether the acceleration of Lammy's career has required black people to remain disenfranchised and in need of representation at the top? Second line of defense may be, it's the party. It's not necessarily him. Lammy would love to say he keeps to the party line to avoid undermining the authority of the government. Others may go further and suggest he may need to blink twice. I say, we don't have the privilege to remain indifferent towards an MP who fears his party more than he fears us. The problem of the party line narrative is that it centers Lammy's professional dilemmas. A personal problem over the black liberation discourse focused on improving the material conditions of the wider community. We cannot deny that Lammy would have been removed from the inner circles of Labour if he had become what we wanted him to become. He would have to step down or leave entirely. But his refusal to do so is still a choice. He chose his institutional convenience over community integrity and tangible change. His dilemma is as old as time, and it's not unique to him. You either work for them or you work for us. And as of 2026, Labour cannot be seen as the party dedicated to class or race equity. The platform to push black empowerment, community power and collective care cannot be with a party that oversaw the UK's abstention in the UN vote to call transatlantic slave trade the gravest crime against humanity. And if your party uses you against black people, surely we should support him being replaced by a braver politician. His last line of defense, I imagine, would be, he can't change things. He hasn't got the power. If Lammy was here, he would rightfully say he is not responsible for the socio-economic conditions of black people in the UK. And I echo this. I'll be worried if at any point we didn't know Britain was controlled by the bond market. So the question now becomes, what is our need for Lammy specifically if his appointment to the second highest position in the country is merely symbolic? Symbolism that a simple scan of history reveals hardly translates into anything of substance. Symbols we'd hoped were prerequisites for real change, only to amount to DEI weapons of mass racialized hypnosis. And yet, Lammy's symbolic significance is not neutral. He may allege that he cannot save us, but his tokenism still endangers us. It dilutes our claims of systemic racism and misrepresents us as a docile people. It encourages Labour to exploit the black vote and label actual black, often women activists, as extremists. The truth is, Lammy's even refused to leverage his soft power for the greater good. CC Iraq, CC Gaza, and CC Iran. If Lammy cannot change things, then he should not change things outside the system. To provide an opportunity for others with the political will to cultivate or demand power for the people to do so. And this is my closing. The role of the jester is to create a spectacle. Political performers for the courts they appear to challenge, enjoying the financial and social privileges that come with unfettered allegiance to their masters, while simultaneously claiming to speak for the people they once came from. Jesters insult the intelligence of their audiences, weaponizing trust and banking on familiarity to preserve their status. Jesters use humor to downplay the urgencies of our harsh realities, occasionally exposing truths rather than confronting them. Thank you.
The views and perspectives do not necessarily reflect the views of those. Anyway, that's just my disclaimer. Welcome. Thank you very much for your thoughts. Thank you. So, a spanner's been thrown into the works. The Black Men for David Lammy organization has shown up. And they have requested that they not be named, for they are recognized. So please, may our first member of defense reveal himself. Round of applause.
The Member of Parliament for Tottenham and former Foreign Secretary is one of the most recognisable politicians not to lead a political party. Since replacing the beloved firebrand Bernie Grant in 2000, Lammy has shapeshifted between roles as a Blairite, a left-leaning maverick, and a company man willing to maintain the party line at moral expense. He was unpopular for blindly supporting the Iraq war, and 20 years later for voting against an amendment demanding a ceasefire in Gaza while Israel was committing war crimes according to the United Nations. Lammy has been a figure of derision and suspicion among black activists for his pragmatism and perceived careerism. In the 18 months before the Black Equity Organisation was founded, which is an organisation that Lammy has led, Lammy followed Labour leadership's left with tilt under Corbyn by taking an adversarial stance against Donald Trump, calling the American a woman-hating, neo-Nazi sympathising sociopath, while maintaining a vocal stance against racism. However, as Jeremy Corbyn's left-wing leadership appointed the highest number of black women ever to a shadow cabinet, Lammy kept his distance and refused to serve in line with the rise of the party. In 2024, when Lammy returned to power under Keir Starmer, following a purge of the left and the expulsion of Corbyn, Lammy repositioned himself once again. And there's some more. Now, I haven't written a full speech, but I have made some notes. I think if we were debating, is David Lammy a disappointment, I think we can all go home. I think if we were debating if he was a pragmatist or a careerist, there was no point us even having a conversation. But my interpretation of the question ultimately is, would Black Britain be better off without David Lammy? And I thought that was an interesting proposition. And I think David Lammy is somebody who is very mercurial and is somewhat misunderstood. And I think as well, a lot of the failings that we make of David Lammy are actually about the way that we see politics and the way that we politically organise and the way that we engage with politicians. So I think you win in politics by working with people that you've shared interests with and may not fully agree. I think with Lammy, what's interesting about him is that he is from some of the traditions that you speak about. His seat when Bernie Grant died was the result of an intervention by Diane Abbott, who in turn, privately, I understand, David Lammy had advocated for behind the scenes in the Labour apparatus. David Lammy is somebody who understands the principles of paying it forward. So he's somebody who will bring on minority interns into his office so that they can get experience into the workplace and the professions. He is somebody who did refer the Home Office over Windrush to the EHRC. He did do those actions. He did do the Lammy report about inequality in the criminal justice system. He did found the Black Equity Organisation, which was aiming to be a civil rights organisation that utilised, I guess, elite black networks to kind of drive the agenda forward. Privately, even when the Tottenham riots happened, there was a slightly diversion in the stance that he took publicly, I guess, to balance his personal career ambitions with actually providing support behind the scenes, even to the family of Mark Duggan. And so there are things that have taken place behind the scenes that we haven't seen.
How valuable is all of this behind the scenes work? How valuable is all of this behind the scenes work if ultimately he is never going to pay it forward in the public sphere, which is ultimately where a lot of our politics is done and where a lot of the impact happens? It's all good to take on an intern here or there, or to advocate for Diane Abbott behind the scenes, but he won't advocate for Diane Abbott in public. He won't, put forward work towards community politics in Tottenham.
I think the problem is, if you're in the business of power, it's about making decisions. It's about, you need people outside the room and people who are inside the rooms to do certain things and do things that you are never going to see. That's just the nature of power. Most of the power that operates in this world, you do not see. And you have to be pragmatic in the coalition that you build. And if you are in the serious business of actual change, not only does it require a level of pragmatism, maybe Lammy's too much pragmatism, but it does require recognizing that there are going to be decision-making that requires there to be a level of lobbying and a level of playing a particular game, I would say. So, and I see your hand, but let me land. So I think that with a lot of the points that were being made, right, politicians are captured every single day. And the question, when I was writing my book, I surveyed black professionals and I asked them, how much do you donate to political campaigns? The majority had never donated ever. So then the question is, who's funding your politician? Because if you're not funding him, somebody else is. And so the critique becomes, right, how do we then politically engage with a figure like David Lammy? And so for me, the question comes down to over being pragmatic. And is David Lammy someone who Black Britain will be better without? The question is he someone Black Britain can do business with? Does he understand the tradition? Has he used or can he use his social and cultural capital for the benefit of Black Britons? Is he someone you can negotiate with? Because if you try and get any change from Kemi Badenoch, She said, I'm going to show you the door and call security. So I think that David Lammy is somebody who we have historically engaged with, and who has, through that list of things that I put forward, who has been activated to advocate or lobby on behalf of Black Britons. And so the question is not, is he a disappointment? Has he failed progressives? He had done those things. Are we better off without him and his social capital? Has he made a difference in Black public life? I think there is evidence of that. And I think that there has to be recognition of a journey. Today we're going to hear from Zach Polanski. He was a Lib Dem once. Now he's a Green. Tonight he's Black. And so I think you have to recognize, basically, the importance of coalition building and being pragmatic. And that might mean for Black people not voting Labour. But the bottom line is you have to be pragmatic and know, ultimately, the game of politics is serious business that requires every hand. And so for me, are we better off without Lammy? Arguably not. That is my defense. Delete that video ASAP.
No. You got to stay right there. So you got to stay right there. We've got 10 minutes on points of blackness, and we're going to have to go really, really quickly. George, we'll come back to you. Let's all right, George. Let's fire on your belly. Let's hear it.
All right, 2 points really quickly.
2? All right, quick.
And they connect, I promise. Okay. So you bring up this idea of the negotiator. You want David Lammy to be our negotiator. Bridge the gap between this radical tradition and pragmatic politics. Yep. My question is, we have no evidence to suggest that David Lammy, when it comes to that point in time, will actually make that hard decision to advocate for us. We've seen him compromise on a global genocide. I don't understand where your moral line gets more frayed if you're not willing to call out the genocide. And secondly, we've seen that within our British political system, you don't have to toe that line. Zach Polanski is sitting right here with us. He's shown that actually you can advocate for leftist ideas. You can advocate for an honesty and authenticity in politics without having to compromise. And so I think we're asking for too little if we're going.
Do you know what is interesting though? Is that when David Lammy was in opposition on the back benches, he was saying everything that Polanski was saying. He was. There was a period when he was. There was a hang on. You're missing the point. My point is about the way that politicians present themselves when they're in power and opposition. There's always been a diversion there. In terms of how I want David Lammy to be, is a different question. I'm not here to say or try and claim David Lammy.
Let's get your microphone.
Hold on, I was first. Nelson, thank you.
Sorry,
I do like it.
Oh, sorry, please. All right, we're
I'm
talking.
really tired of hearing the word pragmatic.
You probably heard it about 5 times today.
No, it's about 25.
Okay.
I think that we have very little standards when it comes to what we expect from politicians. And we all forget that they are funded by our taxes. So if I want a better system that works for people in my constituency and myself, I'm afraid that pragmatism is not going to cut it. Secondly, the idea of playing politics. Do we want to change people's lives or do we want to play politics? Because they're not the same thing. And eventually we have to make a choice about the direction that we want to take. Now, my question to you is, what good is doing things behind the scenes when it doesn't materially change anything? Because right now, Diane Abbott is an independent, so really what was the point of his...
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why is Diane Abbott the end result, the be-all and end-all? Why is Diane
I'm not saying
fate?
that she is. I'm just, that was the example that the gentleman gave in terms of what David Lammy has done.
His name is...
Sorry, I didn't...
Sorry, so I was going to tell you his name, but he doesn't want to know you. Go ahead.
That's fine. But yeah, my point is, you gave examples of things he's done behind the scenes, but they've not changed anything. Arguably, you could say he's done those things to make himself look good, to make himself not the target of, harassment or ire from his colleagues.
Thank you, sister. Let's go to the gentleman over here quickly, please. Yeah. We've got about 10 minutes for points of blackness. We really need to burn through this because we need to spend some time with Zach, please.
I think there's a point that nobody's asking here. everyone's debating what the politicians are doing when they're in public, what they're doing in private. Question is, what if they've got that disease that Frantz Fanon mentioned in his book, black faces, white masks? What if the perfect depiction of David Lammy was Samuel Jackson in Django?
Kelly is a more perfect depiction. But hold on. I completely hear that. Let's hear from Dems. Dems, please. So Dems, you've got to be quick on this one.
Points of blackness.
Please.
I just think to sit on the stage and even jokingly defend David Lammy while, publicising your book that's yet to come out yet, it's absolutely a disgrace.
Oh, no, hold on. He spoke in good faith, but please, but by all means, please, go ahead. Yep.
To do that, it's just an absolute disgrace for black people. It's an absolute disgrace to Bernie Grant as well. Like,
Hang on. The thing is, nah, bro, listen. No. You're gonna hear me. Because I'm actually from Tottenham, bro. Listen, no. Let me land. Bernie Grant is not perfect. Bernie Grant ain't perfect. Listen, Bernie Grant wasn't perfect. I'm gonna tell you that. Do you know that? Do you know that?
Wade in the water, children, wade in the water. 'Cause God's gonna shovel the water. Woo!
All 160 of you in this room tonight are banned. None of you are coming back here after this one. Particularly you two. I'm going to have your faces painted outside the door. You're not coming back. Anyway, Dems, can you please finish your point in a loving and collegiate way without actually slandering this fine young son of Tottenham whilst trying to advocate for people? Please, go ahead.
I just think that it's just a disgrace. It's a disgrace to sit there and defend David Lammy. The black people are dying in this country. When we enter the mental health system, we enter deeper into the mental health system than our white counterparts. When we enter the NHS system, there is so much racism when it comes to medical racism. When it comes to when we're in the job market, it's disgusting. There were racists marching up and down the street last year in September.
Point of blackness. How much of that could we put at David?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. David did nothing.
But your point is that David Lammy is not doing enough to actually.
He is not good enough.
Thank you, Dems. We're just going to run to Peter Herbert. So Peter, please.
Hi. Wow.
We have a ritual here.
Okay. Points of Africanness. Running especially from Kenya. Just to join my brother here, I have a bit of history because I defended people who are accused of genocide in Rwanda. Actually, whoa. On the way in this morning, I watched the film Nuremberg. Should that trial have taken place or not? Yes. Should the person to have a trial have a defendant? Yes. And therefore, throughout history, if you're purporting to have a trial, you have to have a fair trial. And you should not judge them before you judge ourselves. How many people here condemned Obama the night he got elected? Put your hands up. How many? One, okay. Most of us, including myself, said yes. And in the next few years, we take responsibility. In the next few years, we went with the repercussions of that. But, not all of us, but the majority. And therefore, the Labour Party, just looking at a party, when has a political party, the Labour Party, ever saved black people? When? So why do you suddenly expect it to now? Really? And when you're looking at it, how do you organise a party? You get hold of it from the grassroots. So if the people of Tottenham really wanted to hold a David Lammy to account, it would have not taken this debate to do it now. It would have happened years ago. So in terms of some of those, it is not to say the responsibility is all of us. Because all of us have more black MPs than we have ever had. and have done less than when there were 4. And remember Paul Boateng, those of you who do, who said famously, I'll finish on this, I am an MP first and black second. Remember that? So David comes from a stable of politicians of colour who have in a sense sold their life to the devil. In a sense, as my brother said before just here, that they are that person, Stephen. But we have Stephens all over this country. And if you really want to see some Stephens, come to Kenya where the president killed 200 young people in a week. Come to Tanzania and make a fuss where the first female Muslim president killed 800 and buried them in mass graves in October of last year. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Peter. Thank you. Tops, I'm going to come to you really quickly. We have to really have to look at this room. Okay. Okay. All right. You've got 30 seconds, please. Go ahead. We have a ritual that we perform here. Please. That good point.
And secondly, the issue with David Lammy is that he is supporting a system which keeps out dynamics, which keeps out burn grants. So, it's like we can just about live with David Lammy if we had more dynamics and burn grants coming into the system, which is why we need to organise in a way that actually got burn grant and dynamic elected in the first place.
Thank you, Lester. Sorry, we've got somebody in the back over here. It's a very, we can't see you, brother, but yeah.
Yeah, so a point of blackness.
And it is a point of blackness, yeah, absolutely. But go ahead, yeah.
Very dark over here, well melanated. Just on the back here, what have we gained by having David Lammy in the back rooms, but what have we been lost by having Sharon Grant, Bernie Grant's wife and widow, being denied that seat and the opportunity to represent Tottenham? And would that not have been somebody who would have been a much better advocate for the community?
Point of blackness.
Please.
So I've lived in Tottenham since 1976.
Sorry to hear.
I know. I love it. Bernie Grant was a politician that we saw. He came to us and he talked. He did things for the community. David Lammy has never come to us. He has never come to our doors to talk to us as to what we want. If you look at Tottenham today, it's not developed. We've got a big, shiny football club there. How have the people benefited? Hardly. But forget that. His record of late has been terrible. As a constituent, I have written to him 15 letters about Gaza. I got stock standard answers. That's not what I expect from a politician that's supposed to be representing me in Parliament as a deputy prime minister. He needs to do a lot better to get my vote.
Thank you. We have literally 2 minutes left. 2 minutes left. So I'm going to get. I'll come to you now. I'll come to you, and then we just have. But you've got literally 30 seconds.
Only because I know Busayo is going to say something meaningful, but we need to wrap it up because I feel like we give too much time to people that are agents. Okay, he's an agent. His purpose is not to help us, black or brown. His purpose is there to stand in representation, like the man said. He's whatever their character is in Django. It's a waste of our time to discuss it. We actually are in a place in the world where we need to stop doing this. We cannot sugar shit. The implications are grand. So get David Lammy out, and we need to start voting for and put people in place that are actually going to do the things that we need, and say the things that are unpopular, and say the things that are going to actually maybe get them in trouble, because we need change.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Top, should we come to you pretty quickly?
I'm just going to be really quick. One thing that I wanted to just say is that I don't think it's any coincidence that there are 2 black women on the prosecution, right? I don't think that's any coincidence, right? I think that it's important for us to expect more.
Thank you.
There is no red line. There is no red line. And in my own political journey, and with everything that I'm going through right now, there's a quote that I'm reminded of, because we are trying to do the best that we can within this system, but ultimately this is an oppressive system, right? It is a system that was designed to be this way, right? So we can talk about what David Lammy could do more, he might be able to, but ultimately it is a system that is oppressive. So I want to leave everyone with the quote that I'm reminded of each time. Let me just remind myself of the quote. The master's tools will never dismantle the master's house.
I think for me though, the key failing, right, has been that the entire black political project has been to focus on trying to get black MPs into power, and that doesn't work. The democracy only works with pressure and lobbying and capturing politicians, and that's how it works. And so I think for me, it's like the failings on David Lammy are fundamentally also a failure of lobbying and campaigning, and a failure of self-organization, and also an absence of imagination on what our political project should be. That's what I would say. And so I feel that for me that has to be a fundamental point, because actually when there has been lobbying, we have got change out of the system, and even from Lammy himself doing things. That's what I would say. Well, I mean, I read out a list of things.
Just point of blackness. I feel like, as Tope said, depending on how urgent you find the situation, will allow you to create a justification for it in a way that clearly represents the lack of urgency on your side. Now, Tope mentioned black women. Other people have mentioned marginalized communities. And this is where I would say, and we know the stuff that's going on with the gender divide and everything, but you have to listen to the weakest of us, the most disenfranchised of us, the most marginalized. When you lead with your privilege, you think it's about being rational, but it's actually centering your own privileges above other people. So yes, we can have Lammy, and we can kind of find reasons and excuses as to why he's not that bad, it's just the system. But I ask, why is it so instinctive of people when you want to talk about Lammy or people who fail us at the top, that you quickly go to systems? But outside of that discussion, people don't really have a systemic understanding of what's happening. And if you really understood systems, then we do not need Lammy there. So it's almost like the point you're making justifies why Lammy shouldn't be there. But because we have this internal affinity to status, we try and sanitize the idea of having someone up on top. Now, the younger generation clearly have a different view of the political discourse and the journey ahead. And there's a question for the older generation sometimes to also think, not saying you're the older generation, and sometimes the older generation, sometimes I feel like, are you more attached to the idea of who you thought Lammy was because of what it means for who you were at the time? Or are you actually listening to the next generation of people who are telling you that's not what they want? Now make sure you decide who you're loyal to. Are you loyal to the aesthetics of politics? Are you also trying to make a returns on your approach to politics, which was you had to play the game? And I'm actually quite frustrated that a newer generation are choosing not to play that game. So I would just say it's a lot of self-reflection about the political discourse, what's actually good for the people, rather than what makes you justify your own political journey.
Busayo, tops, congratulations for finishing the arguments, but thank you so much to both of you. Mr. Anonymous, defending the undefendable, the pimp, the scab, the slumlord, the libeller, the moneylender, and other scapegoats in the rogues gallery of American society, by Walter Block. Congratulations on defending David Lammy. So there we go. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well done. Thanks.